How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another ARC bonus, ARC news, whatever you want to call it, here on the Gaming Classroom. Yeah, and today we're going to be discussing the top 10 creature vote now that we officially have our top 10 finalists for Ark Survival Ascended Scorched Earth. So yeah, I'm not going to take up too much time. I do want to stress though, remember, these creatures are only coming to Survival Ascended. They are not going to be added to Survival Evolved as of now. I have a feeling they may add them to Survival Evolved, but for now, it's just Survival Ascended. And that just because creatures have certain abilities does not guarantee that they're going to keep those abilities. We've seen that scrap with the Deinonychus, so we'll probably see it scrapped with whatever makes it. So right now it's just based on the creature and the aesthetics. You want to see this type of creature on Scorched Earth? Do you not want to see it? Let's take a look at our finalists, which starts with the Gigantophis, the giant snake, whereas we currently have the Titanoboa. We now have the Gigantophis, which would be a constrictor. The Titanoboa has a torpor inflicting bite. Gigantophis does not. And this is the general concept art for it. Hopefully it should be a rideable snake. It could be added. I think that would be very interesting to have another snake on Scorched Earth. That would be interesting. But since we already have the Basilisk, which is a fantasy creature on Aberration, which looks like a giant snake, who knows? We may get Gigantophis, we may not. I don't know, it depends. Does Wildcard think, Basilisk is too close to Gigantophis? No. You know, and it depends on what the people have to say. It depends on what y'all have to say when y'all vote. So, yeah. So the next creature is the Moa. Now the Moa, this is a pretty interesting looking creature. Giant emu, looks really well. Having another creature with a platform saddle that's very interesting. It appears that it's not going to have much when it comes to weight because this platform saddle seems to be pretty small. But from the looks of it, it's something that would be fast. So, you know, Gallimimus is fast, so it may be good for making a quick getaway. Or, yeah, may just be good for, you know, if you're running the high desert looking for loot crates and you have something chasing you, could be good for making a quick getaway if you don't have a wyvern. So yeah, the giant Moa is pretty interesting. So I think that'd be kind of cool to see if that works out. And if it does, the platform saddle, who knows? It may not end up having a platform saddle. It may not. I'm sure if it gets voted, I'm sure Wildcard would give it a platform saddle, because otherwise people will be like, why didn't you give it a platform saddle? It's all about the platform saddle. Yeah, so yeah. Now the Bastion Beetle, this was in the most recent vote where the Rhinonatha won. And personally, I have mixed feelings. towards the Bastion Beetle. Actually, I don't, because we already have a giant insect being added right now to Survival Evolved, and being added to Survival, and the Rhinianatha would be added to Survival Ascended, so we already have another, so this would just be another giant bug. And personally, I think the addition of a bug is cool. Addition of an invertebrate is cool, but doing an invertebrate for the island, then doing another one for Scorched Earth, and if it keeps going down the line into Aberration, Extinction, Gen 1, Gen 2, the Bastion Beetle, it's not my go-to. It is an interesting creature. I'm trying to remain as unbiased as possible, but that is my bias towards the Bastion Beetle. I don't think they should just start dumping in a bunch of insects, though they should go diverse. Scorched Earth already has a bunch of insects, a bunch of invertebrates out in the high desert. We already have the Arthropleura, we already have the Pulmonoscorpius, we already have the Mantis, we already have the Jug Bugs, we have the Death Worms. Yeah. So the Bastion, no, not too crazy about it. Though if it is added, hopefully it's a promising creature and it's not super nerf if it is added. But yeah, that's pretty much the Bastion Beetle, and it would have sexual dimorphism as well. I know this picture's blurred, but I do have some notes on me. But the sexual dimorphism, that'd be an interesting addition. But again, I think Scorched Earth has enough invertebrates already. I don't really think another invertebrate is really necessary for it, but that's just me. Now the Gigantoraptor. This is one that would be quite interesting. I mean, you have an oversized Oviraptor, basically, and this would honestly be quite an interesting creature to have. If you have it says about proving proving that you're loyal and trustworthy to them when they're wild. And I think that's kind of a cool way to tame them. That would be kind of cool. As long as it's not too complex. And as long as it's not too demanding. Like the Amargasaurus ended up having on Lost Island. That was absolutely ridiculous. And it still is. Wildcard really needs to change the Amargasaurus taming method. Yeah, because, hunting with the Amargasaurus, but then at the same time having to be the one who inflicts the kill shot, and if you don't, you have to find something else and lure it in. Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's a bit too much. But as long as it doesn't end up being something like that, I think this would be cool. And plus, you got another large mount. You have another large creature. And something I am hoping, whichever of these creatures win, it is something you can take into the Manticore Arena. I really hope that. So, yeah, that would be awesome. Gigantoraptor. Yeah, Raptor's pretty cool. I'm pretty interested. Now, the Phaseolasuchus, this one is quite interesting. It was noted that it could be used to trap rock elementals for the survivor to tame. While its fighting and holding down a rock elemental, you can freely shoot cannons at the rock element. That'd be interesting. It would also need to prevent the rock elemental from throwing boulders, which I highly doubt it'd be able to do that. But yeah, the Facilissucus, this would be just quite the monstrous thing to come across on Scorched Earth. I think the concept art does look pretty cool. It looks a little something like you would want to see in almost an aquatic environment, so I would assume its spawn location would be somewhere around the obelisk, because each obelisk has an oasis around it. So I would imagine it being there. But yeah, it's pretty cool it's a pretty cool idea. Okay, this one I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the name, and normally I would. The we'll just call it the Lead. The Lead, yeah, because it was the first 3 letters of its name, LED. So we'll just call it the Lead, or the Acuity is the last name, so Lead Acuity or whatever. Yeah, this is interesting. It seems to be kind of like an iguanodon or a Spino. It can be a quadruped and it can be a biped. Apparently you can build a platform saddle on it. And this would be a good resource gatherer, which would be pretty dang helpful. I know rock elementals are really good resource gatherers. And of course you have your Ankies, and you have your Wyverns for thatch and cactus sap. You have your Doedicurus, and you have your Argents for transporting it. But if you had these guys, and they had a platform saddle, you could build a smithy on their back. If they had weight reduction on a bunch of stuff, I think that would be pretty cool. Yeah, so these guys are actually kind of promising. So yeah, they've got my interest. Now the Gorgonops, honestly, it has been in every creature vote for a long time now. And yeah, it's honestly, it's good, but it's not the best, because I'm not talking about what's proposed here, because again, like I said at the beginning of the video, a lot of this stuff that is proposed here about these creatures is just going to get scrapped. Just going to be crumpled up and thrown in the garbage. Like was done with the Deinonychus. Deinonychus, they proposed it could use weapons. What happens? It can't use a dang thing. All it can do is throw poop to disable tech, which is good, but yeah, it's not what people are hoping for, and everyone was super disappointed in the Deinonychus, including myself. And that's why I'm not a fan of Deinonychus. Yeah, so I just personally think they're not worth the trouble. Even though I just play single player, I honestly think they're just not worth it. So the Gorgonops, it would have to end up being something like the Andrewsarchus. It would have to look unimpressive and then be absolutely amazing. Like the Andrewsarchus is on Fjordur, because the Andrewsarchus turned out to be pretty dang cool. It could take a beating. It can dish out a ton of damage. But yeah, yeah. Yeah, I would need to see that from the Gorgonops. And I have a feeling the Gorgonops is going to be the next Carcharodontosaurus. It is going to be proposed and proposed and proposed until wild card finally snaps and it's like, okay, you know what, you guys are bugging the crap out of us, we're gonna put it in the game. So but for me, I'm kind of 50-50 on the Gorgonops. It would have to end up being something really impressive. So yeah. Right now it's halfway on my list. I would honestly, I'm still 50-50 on it. Now the Armadillosuchus, this guy seems to be pretty dang cool because this is honestly really cool. It's like a Doedicurus on steroids, which I think is really cool. It's a roll rat, and it's a combination of a roll rat and Doedicurus, and I honestly think that this guy would be pretty dang interesting to have. Yeah, he not the top of my list, but I would still be cool with seeing this guy on Scorched Earth. Okay, now the Megaraptor. This is one that I did not expect a lot of people. I honestly expected a lot of people to be interested in it at first. But I didn't expect it to be in the top 10. I expected it to be close to the top 10. But the fact that it made it into the top 10 is really, really surprising. And if it does end up being the winner, I honestly think that it has a bunch of promise. Yeah, it's honestly... Yeah, it's honestly, if it can be just an absolute behemoth, if it can take out creatures that you normally would need something like a really well imprinted Rex, if this ends up being something that you can take out alpha deathworms and alpha wyverns with, I'm all for it. I mean, that would be great, especially the alpha deathworms. Alpha deathworms can be a pain in the butt if you don't have really, really, really tough Rexes. Because alpha regular deathworms will waste you right quick. Alpha deathworms, don't even get me started. But yeah, these guys could end up being super beefy and just dish out a ton of damage and have a ton of hit points. Yeah, I give these guys an A+. So we'll see. We will see. Will they win or will they lose out? And the Jumping Spider, or the Jumper. This is honestly really interesting. I did not expect to see something like this. Now I know earlier I said bugs. I'm kind of tired of bugs because we already got the Rhinianatha, but this would be the first insect shoulder pet, or not, it's not an insect, arachnid shoulder pet. This would be the first. It's dung beetles you can pick up. These guys, if they could be mounted on your shoulder, and if they could be used to give the web effect that Araneo gives, but you just like whistle attack my target and these guys web something, that'd be awesome. If they're big enough to ride on, yeah, that's cool, but they need weight. So if they decide to make these guys rideable, these guys definitely need to not have crap weight. Otherwise, they're a crap addition. There's the Araneo, Arthropleura, Pulmonoscorpius, not always, but sometimes even the Mantis, have crap weight, absolute crap weight, even when imprinted. So yeah, these guys would need to have impressive weight. They don't have to have weight reduction on anything, but they need to be able to carry you whenever you're fully loaded. They need to have something higher than 150 weight. Okay, we need to, when you tame these guys up, we need something that has like 400 or 500 weight at least. Yeah, it's honestly, yeah, but if these guys were to be something like a shoulder pet, and then you just whistle attack my target and they shoot their web from the shoulder to help you tame stuff, like being a free bola, that's awesome. That would be awesome. Yeah, so these guys, and those are actually pretty interesting, honestly, to be 100% honest. And I believe that's all of them. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, that's all of them. So hey, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash that like button, subscribe, and as you know, the Bastion Beetle is not, is one I hope that does not win. Gorgonops, mixed feelings. I would honestly, my top 3 that I would pick, and this is not in any given order, but my top 3 would be the Jumping Spider, the Megaraptor, and the lead acuity, because I cannot pronounce that whole first name, so I'm just gonna call it the lead. Yeah, those would be my top 3. Yeah, so anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.